What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel for another Steam Deck video. We're taking a look at Assassin's Creed Mirage here. Thanks to Ubisoft for providing me with access to the game to make this video. However, I will say, and I said before, not happy about the de novo being added right after reviews went out. It locked me out of all of my devices. I'm days late getting my video done because I couldn't play the game. It caused a lot of issues, and I'm sure there's performance issues as well that I can't prove because I don't have anything pre-recorded. But anyways, we're going to move past that. We're going to get into things here with the Steam Deck, but I did have to mention that off the bat. Now, the Ubisoft launcher is all I'm able to use here. You can't buy this game in Steam. You could get it on Epic or Ubisoft. I did have to fresh install my Ubisoft launcher on my Steam Deck to get it to launch again and work, but I haven't had any problems since then with the launcher or the game launching, thank goodness. And performance, for the most part, I will say, has been pretty good. It's been great on my PC and my Ally. Steam Deck suffers a little bit, but it's very playable here. So we're going to be borderless 1610, no FPS limit, no VSync for the whole video. We'll leave these alone. But for these settings, we'll use low preset, medium preset, and towards the end, a custom preset here. We'll use FSR and XeSS throughout the video, and no motion blur or depth of field the whole time. Now, I want to use some pieces of the benchmark just to give us that baseline idea and show you guys what kind of performance you're getting here, so you can kind of lean towards what you want for your settings. But we've got low native TAA here, FSR quality, and FSR balanced. And what happens here with this game is we are very CPU bound and limited on resources here. And so even though I use balanced in my settings towards the end of the video, I don't think for the most part it's the best way to go because it takes too much pressure off the GPU and really causes us some problems, and we don't get the benefits from it that we would like to. And here with low XeSS quality versus FSR quality, again, same thing in a lot of games where XeSS is always a few FPS lower than FSR. It does typically offer better visual quality though. However, in this game, I will say FSR has been implemented pretty well, where there's not a lot of that shimmer and inaccuracies in color and that type of thing, but you'll still see a difference between XeSS and FSR. Now, if we go to balanced for both of them here, again, balanced FSR is where things really tend to fall apart. It does take a good bit too much pressure off the GPU at a lot of times, and we suffer. We don't get the benefits of FSR as it struggles to keep up, and it just doesn't work out the best in busy areas. And I'll get into more of that a little bit later on in the video too to show you another example. But this will give you an idea. It's totally up to you. I don't think you're going to get away with native anywhere. When you get into real world gameplay, you would be in the 20s. You'll really suffer and have some problems when it gets busy and we're not in a synthetic benchmark. But I just was going to show it in here so people that are curious about medium, you start going even higher than that, completely falls apart. So low versus medium here, native is fine. Just thought I'd show them as an example. Don't recommend doing it. I recommend FSR quality or XeSS quality. If you're outside of the cities balanced, again, we'll take a closer look at that. Here's low FSR balanced versus medium FSR balanced, and you won't see a huge difference again because we can only really gain so much as we are bound here and bottlenecked mostly by what I would say the CPU not being able to feed that GPU quick enough. So the more we take pressure off with lowering the resolution, actually you can exacerbate the problem. So hopefully this kind of gives you that idea and shows you what I'm talking about and helps you lean towards how you're going to want to run this game. Now, with low and medium XeSS for balanced, it's pretty clean for the most part. We definitely get better usage out of the resources here. That's just typical with XeSS pushing the GPU there. So it's a bit cleaner, frame time stay a little bit better. The dips aren't as bad with it, but you don't quite get as high of FPS as you do with FSR. So again, it depends on where you're at in the game. If you're going to lock to 30, which is probably a very good idea for this game on deck, you might want to go XeSS quality or balanced or FSR quality. Now I'm going to switch over here to custom that I'm using, which is medium on textures for environment characters, FSR2 on balance, no motion blur, no depth of field. And when you're outside of the cities, when you're in the open areas where the CPU is getting some breathing room, typically FSR2 balanced will give you a much higher frame rate, will help you more because we're not taxing the CPU or the system as much. We get a little bit of that breathing room and it tends to work really well, which is why I just left FSR balanced on here. But you're really going to have to decide where you're at in the game, how you want to do that, because even though it works great out here, running around, looking at all the scenery, even when you get into fights out here and stuff like that, it's just not having to render all the NPCs and stuff. But even out here on the outskirts, if you get into a town where there's a lot more going on, or we'll get back to the city here shortly, that's when things are going to come down on you. Still stays very playable, but it does get a little bit janky from time to time as these areas just start hitting the CPU a lot more than the outskirts, and having FSR on balance just isn't helping the situation. So when you're in really busy areas, I highly recommend sticking FSR quality or XeSS quality because you're only going to gain so much, and it will help with some of that frame time issue and frame drops a little bit, just like you saw in the benchmark. You can see here too, as we come in from the outside into the city of Baghdad here, you'll see things change with frame rate, frame time, resource use, and all of that. So FSR balanced in city, in highly populated areas where the CPU is really busy, and it's probably not going to work out as well as quality for either one of the upscalers. So I'll pretty much leave that at that. You guys decide what you want to do with all of that. Now, traversing, though, around the city feels pretty decent. Now, the character movement and everything in this game itself, I'm really enjoying. I'm enjoying Mirage altogether for the most part. It feels great to play. When you get up away from the crowds, things do tend to run even better, which is great. But when you get into busy areas in certain spots of the cities, you're going to get down pretty low. You may even get into 28, 29 FPS at times. Even with these low-medium settings, FSR balanced, again, quality is going to probably work a little bit better. Now, getting into some of the combat stuff, I tried to run around the city and fight in different areas. I pulled quite a few NPCs out here. It runs about the same as running around in the city or whatever. You might get times where there's a lot going on and it dips more, but it felt fine. I could parry, I could play, I could do what I needed to do. It doesn't feel as good as, you know, holding a more solid, higher frame rate, but it works. I don't think I would have any major problems here, especially if I switched back over to something like FSR quality. So I'm pretty happy with that for the most part. I think it's pretty playable, and if you want to lock down to 30 FPS, that's going to help a lot more. I think this game is probably more geared to run 30 FPS here on the deck, even if you're all low settings or low medium like here. FSR balanced or quality, XeSS balanced or quality, whatever you're doing. I just think that more stable 33.3 on your frame times, and for the most part holding a solid 30, playing here on the deck just feels a bit better than leaving it open, just because it's really kind of all over the place depending on where you're at. And if you're locked to 30, you can care a lot less about your settings. You can set FSR on quality or Intel XeSS quality, whatever you want, and run from there. But anyways, guys, hopefully this video gave you at least an idea of how the game's running here on the Steam Deck, what you want to do with your settings. Hope you guys enjoy your time with Mirage if you're playing it. I know besides all the launch issues, I'm actually really enjoying the game. All right, thanks a lot for coming to check out the video as always. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next one.